This is an Eye on Annapolis bonus podcast.
We're here with Elizabeth Kinney and Pam Siemer, who are with a somewhat new, and I just somewhat discovered this, Rise and Shine Bakery. How are you guys?
Good, John. Thanks for having us this morning.
Well, Elizabeth should be very familiar to many of our listeners because you had a long and storied career at the Light House, and you were in charge when you moved from the old facility to the new facility on Hudson Street. Mm-hmm. And then you took that old facility and turned it into one of my favorite breakfast spots, Light House Bistro.
Yay, yes.
And I know, Pam, you have been involved with the Light House wherever you were director of development for the longest time.
That's right, I was.
And now you guys have paired up for Rise and Shine Bakery?
We have. Before we opened the bistro, we started the culinary training program with Chef Linda Vogler in 2011. And that's what I am passionate about, is teaching people new skills. And especially when they're in crisis, vulnerable, the accountability, being in the workplace, the encouragement, the wraparound support just of having colleagues. And I think I so strongly believe that to change your life, you got to build some competency, which builds some confidence, which transfers to everything you do. So I'm a big workforce development believer, and Rise and Shine is that. It's a training program to become a professional baker.
Okay, so you have retired essentially from the Light House.
Yes.
And you jumped right into the same thing, only with bread and cookies and
Well, exactly. I mean, I think I can remember when we were raising money for the bistro, Mike Gershenfeld said to me, he was then the regional president of Cisco, and he gave us $25,000, and I, of course, started crying, and he said, Elizabeth, that's why we call it the hospitality industry. We take care of everybody. And I think it's really true. The hospitality industry has open arms. It can be a great place for second chance employment. I love the bakery idea because it's less urgent than a restaurant. It's more rote. It's more structured. I think we can serve a greater number of people and train them for this particular kind of work.
Tell me about Rise and Shine Bakery, and I should say it's riseandshinebakery.org, which is the website that everybody should go check on. That's all spelled out, so it's very simple. Where is it?
So right now we are training our fourth class. We have a baker's dozen people in it, and we've...
Do you always do 13 people in class?
No, but we started with 15. We always have some attrition because we're pretty strict about attendance, and it's a sober program, so you have to follow those two rules. But we started at Bakery Express in Hallethorpe, Maryland, and then we've moved to the Masonic Lodge in Odenton. Okay. And they've been really generous with us. We have a big classroom, a small commercial kitchen, and that's sort of our transition spot. We are looking for property to buy to build the mothership bakery.
Wow. Okay, so what types of baked goods are you're essentially now training these folks how to be bakers? So
it's a 12-week pretty rigorous program where you learn cookies, muffins, scones, cakes, the whole nine yards.
So you're like
spreads.
America.
Well, we are fattening up with skills. So we've got a lot of training, hard skills training in baking. We have a full-time baking instructor who's just amazing. And then an assistant baking instructor. And then we also have a lot of soft skills training to go to complement, get people back on track and build their confidence.
That's fantastic. So you said you're in your fourth class now.
Yes.
At this point. Do we have some success stories out of the three?
Well, we do. We have about 80% employment statistics right now. 80%, yes. And we are really hoping to build employer partnerships for us. So having people commit to taking one of our folks on and sort of continue that supportive working environment.
I know you had that at the Light House Bistro. Mm-hmm. I remember I drawing a blank on his name, but he was at the bistro. And all of a sudden he showed up at Chewy's That was where the breakfast place is over at the festival at Riva.
Right.
And I went in there one time. He's like, "Oh man, I was wondering where you were," and stuff like that. He says, "Yeah, no, they called and they wanted, and here I am." And it was so great to see somebody, and I don't know what his backstory was,
Right.
but it was so great to see somebody that, whether it was homelessness in the Lighthouse, but I mean, and you mentioned, second chance employment, folks that have, fallen through the cracks in some way, shape, or form to get back and get that second chance. That's just so powerful.
So our success stories are just that. When you leave us and get a job, and if that's not the right job, you get another job. So I do believe the skill set is what, leads into opportunities. We are doing something different in this training program than we ever did at the Lighthouse, which was really serving people experiencing homelessness. We're serving a mixed demographic of folks. So we've got veterans, we've got moms, single moms living in poverty. We've got kids aging out of foster care. We've got people in recovery. We've got people experiencing homelessness. Who else do we have, Pam?
We have people who were formerly incarcerated.
Yes, recently
survivors of domestic violence. And now we have some autistic clients. We were approached by one of the programs in Maryland and asked if we would be willing to take on three of our trainees have autism. And they come with their own counselor. And they're doing great.
They are doing great. I mean, we're really thrilled. I think so. We'll be adding intellectual disabilities to our list of people that we serve. And I think each class will have a certain number of slots so we can manage and serve people to the best of our ability.
That's fantastic. So somebody who is, and I don't like to use the term falling through the cracks because, I mean, it sort of seems like an accident, but I mean that just hasn't had the opportunities. And you've mentioned that word a couple different times.
Well, I mean, I remember every single graduating class from our culinary training program, I would say, what do you need? What do you need? And 100% of the time, the answer was just give me an opportunity. I'm ready. And I think that's the magic of it, is matching opportunities with somebody who feels competent enough to walk through that door. And that's the work we really do, John, is help people get to a place. Our only criteria for entrance to the program is that you have a barrier to employment. And whatever that is, we're willing to talk to you and then help you walk through the doors to get employed so you can sustain your family and your life and your housing and all those things you need to pay for.
We're also partnering with a lot of the social service agencies. So if somebody comes to us and they don't meet the criteria, or it's not a good fit, or they can't, it just won't work, we try to get them to another program where it is a better fit. We also provide transportation, which is a huge area. We have a van and we have a driver, and we do provide transportation to and from the training program, which makes a huge difference because many of our folks don't have cars, and it's sometimes have to walk miles and miles to get to where they want to go.
Well, I know I hear that's just a thing for children's programs for a lot of the public housing communities, and for folks that live in the public housing that are looking for jobs, that they have to rely on the Annapolis public transportation, which is not that great. And certainly you're limited to a little area where you can work, right, as opposed to, you're not going to get out of Annapolis and go be able to work in Glen Burnie very easily.
No, it's a 3-hour bus ride to Glen Burnie from Annapolis, so that makes it a little hard to get to work there.
Ouch.
And putting a plug in to change that, yeah.
Well, one of our things that our program director is doing, she's establishing a lot of employer relationships. So we're trying, for example, maybe somebody who lives down in Eastport might get a job at Pal Pleasers or a Giant or someplace where they really can walk or easily get there. So there's that consideration too, in matching them up with an employer.
And again, just the opportunity, as you said, 100% of the people said that just give me the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And you're giving them that with the skills, the hard skills, and the soft skills. How to go in and shake somebody's hand and say, hey, I think I would be a great baker for you.
Exactly. We just did mock interviewing last week. It was really fun. People, they got dressed up. Actually, one of our gals has a great sense of humor came in dressed in everything we said not to wear to an interview, just to punk the staff. It was really funny. And then, of course, she changed and she had a great interview. And, that's just one small thing we do to help prepare people for getting employment.
All right. So what happens we're training these folks how to bake bread and cookies and everything else, and I can learn that on YouTube. What happens to the product? I mean, are you actually baking the product?
Interesting that you mentioned that.
Great question. So we are developing our first signature products that will be for sale. We're also working on a way to take the products the students make and sort of have a brown bag surprise that we can deliver to the community. If somebody's interested, we can share our baked goods because they make incredible things. The only thing I regret about doing this is the amount of pounds I've gained in tasting everybody's work because they're so proud of their work. They want to share it. Oh, Elizabeth, please taste mine. Taste mine. It's wonderful. I mean, people get really excited about what they're learning.
And we just got our catering license from the Anne Arundel Health Department, which means that we can go into production now and actually sell. I know that Homestead Gardens is a big supporter. They're going to be working with us. And we have other contracts that we're going to try to be getting. So we're going to be doing wholesale and retail. Right now, we're doing some taste testing, and the Chamber of Commerce has offered to be our guinea pigs. So they're tasting our cookies. We didn't have to twist their arm too hard, but and then filling out some surveys and telling us what cookies they like the best, and it's going to help us decide which ones we're going to start with. Although I think we know we have our signature brown butter chocolate chip cookie, which really is to die for.
It's brown butter sea salt.
Oh, sorry.
Chocolate chip.
Ooh.
Yeah. And the sea salt mixed with the chocolate that is to die for.
Should have.
It's a good thing you guys didn't go to like asparagus and Brussels sprouts. I mean, nobody be into that at all. Wow. Okay. So you've got your catering license now. And I mean, I guess the opportunities are endless there at the point. I know there's a lot of businesses, small restaurants, carry out places that would love to carry something like that. I think, that'd be an ideal thing for like hotel concierge.
Well, exactly. And we are working with some of the hotels and hope to partner with them to have guest amenity cookies. We are going to start with cookies. We feel like at halfway through the training program, we can have production training be part of the program so that we will have a production manager on staff, and the students will help with parts of it until the halfway point when we know they have the skills, and then they'll actually be part of the production schedule, which I'm really excited about.
And our baking instructor is awesome. She is really an amazing baker. I think the other thing about the program is, you have the statistics. There are lots of openings around for bakers, whether it be in the Giant or, some of the other places, actual bakeries or restaurants. I mean, everybody's looking for bakers. I can't remember what's the number, 600 and something.
Well, a year ago it was over 600. It's come down now some, I think, but bakeries are trending right now. So they're nationally up 6% last year. Pastry sales were up 16%. And it's really fascinating. We're partnering with a really big, huge ingredients company called Ingredion in Chicago. And they did all this research and said, post-COVID, people really want a little self-indulgence every day. And we would like to be part of providing a little self-indulgence every day. That's
a great tagline.
Right?
Sometime around 2 or 3 in the afternoon when you get that craving for a cookie, we want to be your cookie.
And also because if you buy a cookie from us, you're helping change a life. And that's what this is really about.
There is no greater value than when you see that you are making a difference in somebody's life. And it doesn't have to be huge, just a little step. And that's all it takes to do big steps, is to take a little step first and a little step. And it seems like you're just giving that opportunity. Hey, let's teach you how. Let's take a baby step out and let's go talk to a restaurant and see if they'd be interested in hiring you.
You know what, John, you're so spot on. And I think what my experience in serving people who are vulnerable or in crisis is meeting people where they are. And if a baby step is what you need to walk with, that's what you do. And some people are more ready than that. So it's just really, I think, getting to know people. This is not rocket science, getting to know what they need, what their goals and dreams are. And then we can be part of that formula in helping them chase those dreams and actually create some success in their life.
We have I'm sorry.
I'm going to go, Pam.
We have a graduation at the end of each class. And the students talk a little bit about what the program has meant to them. And all of them actually have talked about the confidence. They now have confidence. They've succeeded at something. I mean, some of them haven't graduated from high school. So this is the first graduation they've ever had. We do pomp and circumstance, and all of that kind of thing. And they love it. And it's just a matter of pride. And so they've learned financial literacy, mock interviews, doing the resumes, going on actual, interviews for jobs, the camaraderie, working together, some of the, issues that come up in the workplace. So I think it's all of those things together besides the actual baking skills that they get.
Let's face it, the folks that are coming through the program, for whatever reason, maybe it's of their own volition or maybe it's, by no means of their own, have been kicked to the curb, and they've probably been said, hey, you are not worthy. You can never do this. Okay. I mean, you've been incarcerated. What are you going to do to be able to get out? You've been shuttled around, and, they come in with this attitude that I'm not, but everybody has that value and that worth. And to be able to deliver that is huge. And I totally can see what you mean, Pam. It's like, they're celebrating me.
Mm-hmm. Part of the training, we teach box breathing, which the Navy teaches to plebes first semester right away. So it's a way to calm yourself down, to de-stress. We teach meditation and some yoga because these are skills people don't have in terms of managing their own triggers, in terms of maintaining appropriate behavior. Those are skills that people need practice in. So we try and give some tools to do that. When you speak about worthiness, John, something I learned years and years and years ago, if you're not worth my time, you probably will feel not worthy. But if I make you worth my time, worthiness follows. It's not, again, rocket science, but it's a magic formula. So we know investing our time, our love, our wrapping them up in just feel good baking really changes people.
Well, I've heard differences. I sit on the ICST board at Annapolis High, and we work with the kids and stuff like that in their signature program. And they've said time and time again, and unprompted, this is awesome that I can sit there and talk with an adult, and we can go back and forth and to figure it out. And when someone realizes that they're worthy, it's huge. And it's even huger, for lack of a better word, for somebody that's able to instill that upon them.
It's rewarding all the way around. That's why I love the work, and it's why Pam and I are back in it, because you're making a difference. We're baking a difference. Thank you very much. And I think what I'm loving about this particular program is the mixed demographics of the people we're serving. And there's such huge support on the team for one another, because if you're working strictly in homelessness, for example, everybody's sort of in the same stew, right? But here, nobody knows what each other's circumstances are, so they have to kind of get to know you. And the level of caring and interest I'm seeing is really unprecedented in my experience. It's kind of, there's no other word, but it's really a beautiful thing.
I also wanted to add something. You were talking about being on the board. And although Elizabeth and I co-founded the program, in fact, we started in April of 2020. And of course, that was right in the middle of COVID. So we spent the first 2 years coming up with policy and procedures and
the curriculum development.
Yeah. But we also came up with a great board. So we have a really terrific board of community people some have worked with us over when we were at the Light House, and others are community people. And of course, at least several of them that are on our board. So we've been very lucky to have a great, not only is our employees, the program director and the baking instructor and the assistant, great, so's our board. And that's I think a really important point, because you got to have people who can, back the program and really support it. And that's what we've got.
We have some amazing bakers on our board, and we have a really great...
You stacked the board with bakers.
We did. And then we have an advisory board. Chef Padua, who's the sugar chef from the Food Network, is on our advisory board, and he came and taught the students last class. So we're looking for guest instructors. Anytime somebody who's a great cake decorator or somebody who has the best muffin recipe this side of the Mississippi, we love those people to come in and spend a half a day with our folks. I mean, it really, really wraps people up in feeling cared for by the community.
Fantastic. Well, you said you guys are up in Odenton at the
Masonic Lodge in their commercial kitchen.
Okay, so it's got to cost you money to do this.
It does. Yeah, pay rent.
And they're not going to be, obviously you said you're looking for a permanent place. How do we get the money? I mean, is there a tuition cost for this? And
So it's free to the students, and we are just raising money to pay for it. Each student gets paid $100 a week. So it's $1,200 we pay them
oh, wow.
to take the training. And
That's not per week. That's for the whole class.
Right,
That's
right.
$100 a week, and then $1,200 total. And the reason we do that is so people can afford to, buy their food and live. It's not a lot of money for 3 months, but that's what we do to sort of bridge people so they can make this possible.
Well, it helps it out.
And
It helps.
We're a startup. I mean, there's no question about that. And it's a new experience for us because when we were at the Light House, it was already, and had been in business for 20 some years. But we are a startup, and we started from absolutely scratch and nothing. We've been lucky that the county has been supportive. We got a county grant last year. We're getting a county grant this year. But the truth is we need operating funds. There's no question about it. And we have a lot of potential with contracts with hotels, like you mentioned, and restaurants. But to get there and to make sure that we can support our team, we definitely need operating funds. No question about it.
Well, I know that you can go, because I did it yesterday, but you can go to riseandshinebakery.org. And there is a donate button right there. And we'll throw something, in the show notes here as well. But obviously you can donate. That's the easiest way to do it.
We need community donations. And more than that, we need the engagement of the community. I mean, it's another program where once we have the bakery open, we hope we really will have people coming in and meeting our folks and breaking bread with us.
And is that the ideal, that you're going to have a storefront with a
Yes.
with a kitchen behind it, and
Yes.
The muffins are coming fresh out of the oven into the display case?
Yes, we will have a big wholesale operation, which I think I'm also trying to prove the model that a social enterprise, which is a business whose bottom line is people, not profits, trying to prove that the business model can support the costs of the programming. So our training program will actually be sustained by our wholesale and retail operations. So we won't have to be fundraising for operations. I mean, we say in 3 to 5 years, we want to be completely self-sustainable.
I want to add something, too, when you were talking about making a donation, which thank you so much for doing that, John. We have a matching grant from the Dunleavy Foundation, too. We have to raise the money in order to get the money, but they're going to match dollar for dollar what we raise. So every dollar is times two.
I'm like double now.
That's right.
Doubled your
That's awesome.
donation.
Thank you.
That's awesome. How does that grant expire, or is that? I know some of them put a hard date, and others are like, I'm going to give you.
It doesn't have a hard date, but in order to get the funds, we have to raise the funds because the Dunleavy Foundation will match it dollar for dollar until we get up to $1 million.
And
it's quite a trip.
And your expenses are still accruing. So I mean, you have expenses.
We have daily, weekly expenses, our salaries, transportation costs, student stipends, and ingredients. We're buying lots of flour and eggs and sugar and
Chocolate chips.
You all know the cost of food has gone up, so those eggs are expensive.
Gas is very expensive for a van. We have a van, and the van really is, they're not the most economical, but it is the most, we have a 15-passenger van, and it is really important because I think 90% of our trainees probably could not, very few of them have cars or, their own transportation. So without that, they wouldn't be able to get the training, but it's really expensive to run that big 15-passenger Ford Transit van.
Oh, it certainly is.
Worth every penny.
It's not on a very easy route either, I'm sure.
No.
We're kind of going all over the county, which is also something I love about this program. So, we have Glen Burnie, Pasadena, Brooklyn Park, as well as Annapolis. So I think we're serving people, anybody in need. Judge Miller in the Veterans Court in Glen Burnie is such an amazing guy, and we're working with him, hopefully getting his veterans from the court to come into our workforce program. And just lots of partnerships we're trying to build. And
are you familiar with Veterans Court?
No.
It's a great program that he's set up. Basically, veterans who commit minor crimes or maybe drug issues and stuff, instead of sending them to jail, he gets them into workforce programs.
That's sort of like the teen court program they've got.
Exactly. And it's like drug court, same thing, which I think are terrifically
intervene
effective
and just
programs.
take the off-ramp here and see what we can do.
Effective programs. That's what we're after. I have to say, Anne Arundel County has invested in and really focusing on a terrific reentry program. The woman who's running is kind of a rock star. She came from the state. And I think reentry programs are also so important to help people transition from one place to the next. So that's what happens when we talk about, as you had earlier this morning, people falling through the cracks. That's my understanding of that. When you're transitioning from one circumstance to another, I think programs can be great bridges.
You look at our basic systems of laws, and I know that you take, so many different types of folks that are coming into the program, but let's just look at the reentry people. Our nation is built on, okay, you've broken the law, you do the time, and did the crime and serve the time, or whatever the thing is. But I mean, you've now paid for your sins, if you will.
I think that what we experience, I'll just be honest, is our felons are our most motivated students because they know what they're up against in terms of getting a job. I have to say, I'm so happy, though, to discover Second Chance Employers. Giant Foods, Second Chance Employer. They are absolutely willing to take people with felonies as long as they have served their time. So I think that's our work, is to partner with Second Chance Employers and find people who are like-minded.
Do you find, you talked about your classes that they engage and they get to know each other and they have to learn everything else, but I've got to imagine that a felon can learn an awful lot from a homeless person, who can learn a lot from somebody that's aging out of foster care, from somebody that is now a veteran that is, down on their luck, as opposed to the single mom that's, struggling to figure out where the next meal is coming from. Imagine they can all learn from one another and grow their own skill sets.
So one of the things we do at graduation, John, is before the week prior, we ask our class to write adjectives about the other students. And then we read at graduation what their classmates learned about them. And it's really extraordinary. I think it teaches people that when you give respect, you will get respect. It teaches people everyone has something to offer, and learning about people's stories is where healing begins.
I think human nature is to turn around and just sort of downplay your own strengths. Oh, I'm not that good. I'm not good enough. I'm not that pretty enough. I'm not that skinny enough. Whatever it may be. Yet when you look at it through a different lens, a lens of somebody else, it's very empowering.
When you come into class, John, you can be a guest lecturer anytime you want. Because I want to
be a guest sampler.
We can bring you some cookies too.
I imagine also the training out of this. Obviously you've got the life skills and everything else, but you had mentioned that you sometimes might have a single mom that has kids and trying to figure out how to make ends meet and everything else. You hear about like these cottage kitchens and these little businesses that start there. I know that Patty Slaughter has the Bernie House, and she essentially gives homes or use of a home fully furnished and gives the training for folks to be able to really form a career. I imagine that probably ties in with Rise and Shine as well, doesn't it?
I love that work. And I think absolutely. The Anne Arundel County Social Services Department has just opened an entrepreneurial branch, and we hope to partner with them so our graduates who want to start their own business then can take that program and learn what's required to have a kitchen certified, to work out of a certified kitchen, and what you need to do in terms of labeling and production and sales. I think that with the cost of childcare, it averages $1,200 a month per child. It's completely unaffordable and not accessible, that young women who want to have an at-home baking business, we can help them do that.
I'm long past the days of having a kid in daycare. And I just remember that with my ex-wife doing the math and saying, her salary, it covered it and then some, but not much.
Not much.
And it made sense for us to struggle and not have her work and not have that bill. Well, I can't imagine what it is today.
I think women aren't coming back into the workforce in the way they were prior to COVID because so many daycares have closed, because there's no access because of the cost. So I think to expect women to come back to the workforce when those barriers are so huge, it's not realistic. So I think that's one of the things we hope to do is create a path to having a little at-home business to help meet expenses and take care of your family.
So as far as supporting you guys, the big thing right now is let's find you a permanent home with a big old kitchen and a big old storefront to be able to bring in tractor trailers, and we can put out tons and tons and tons of cookies all over the state of Maryland.
So right now we need to get us to sustaining our operations, buying a bigger mixer so we can make more cookies, and really getting into production. When we're ready to buy a facility, we'll be doing a big bricks and mortar campaign. And what we're looking for, right now is pay for a student for a week for $100, buy our ingredients for a week for $500. That kind of donation will keep us going and thriving and get us to the next place.
And that all is matched by the Dunleavy
all
Foundation
doubled. Exactly.
riseandShineBakery.org again is the website there. Do you take volunteers? I know that's
Yes.
Does somebody, if somebody maybe can come and help out, whether a van driver or all in bags of flour or whatever it may be?
You know what? I think volunteer instructors and volunteer workshop teachers are where we are right now in terms of needs. Also, having people come and just work with our students is completely possible. I know from my experience in Annapolis, we live in a very generous community. And I think one of the stories about the Light House success is really how engaged the community is in helping people move forward and feeling like they're valued members of our community.
Well, we also live in a county and in a community that has so many resources, such as Rise and Shine Bakery, such as the Light House, such as any number of organizations that we've talked about over the last few minutes that can help people. There's, in addition to giving and generosity, we all want to see everybody succeed. We want to see the community as old tired and
collaboration here too between the social services organizations and a lot of the Rotary and a lot of the service organizations they're all very supportive, I think, of a lot of the agencies and what people are trying to do in this county. Including our own county government folks are also very helpful.
True. riseandshinebakery.org, RISEANDSHINE bakery.org is where you want to go to donate and learn about this program. And this is, as Pam said, this is definitely a startup. This is so exciting to see where this goes. And I'm having a little bit of flashbacks. Bringing up the Light House again. That whole kitchen on the side of the street where, you're handing out things,
yes,
preparing the lunch bags and everything else. How that evolved into what it is today, I totally see a similar thing for this. And knowing you, I think it's almost a given.
Well, you know what? The one thing I'm good at is building a team, John. And I think we've got a great team, and we'd love to widen our circle and get more people on this team and ensure our long-term success. And so if you're interested, we will get an order form on the website in the next couple of weeks so you can buy our signature cookies from us. We also have an oatmeal cranberry pecan that's out of this world. So we'll be getting that.
And there's no bias there at all. Okay, so...
But the brown butter sea salt chocolate chip is over the moon.
And for anybody that is involved in the restaurant business, that maybe owns a business that works for one, this is a great opportunity. If you're in the hotel business and the hospitality business, and as Elizabeth said, the hospitality business, that's what we do. Let's do it. There'd be nothing better than waiting in line at for 45 minutes for a dinner reservation and munching down on a Rise and Shine cookie.
Love it. I think you have to know, really, when you buy products from us, you are helping people have a second chance, turn their lives around, do something important to sustain their own success.
This has been a bonus podcast from Eye on Annapolis. Please visit us at eyeonannapolis.net. Follow us on Facebook at All Annapolis and on Twitter at Eye on Annapolis. And if you haven't subscribed to the Daily News Brief podcast, go for it. And all of your local news will be delivered to your phone, tablet, or smart device by 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday.